Ever wonder why some people just take off? They achieve things that seem completely out of reach for the rest of us. We all know the story we're usually told, right? The one about the lone genius, the ambitious go-getter. But what if that story is mostly a myth? Today, we're going to dig into Malcolm Gladwell's incredible book, Outliers, to uncover the real and far more surprising story behind extraordinary success.
All right, let's just jump right in with a question that it sounds totally bizarre. What on earth could your birthday possibly have to do with becoming a world-class athlete? I mean, it sounds like something out of an astrology column, but the answer reveals the first hidden key to success.
Yeah, that's the myth we all know and love. The self-made hero who pulls themselves up by their bootstraps. But Gladwell argues that the real story is so much more complicated and, frankly, so much more interesting. It's not just about what's going on inside you. It's about everything around you. Your family, your culture, where you were born, and yes, even when you were born. So take a look at this. It's a roster for one of the best junior hockey teams in Canada. Now, this is supposed to be the ultimate meritocracy. Only the best of the best make it here, chosen for nothing but sheer talent and hard work. But look closely at those birth dates. Just glance down that last column. You seeing a pattern here? And boom, there it is in black and white. This isn't just one team. It's a massive, undeniable trend across all of Canadian elite hockey. The number of players born in January, February, and March is just off the charts, and it gets smaller and smaller as the year goes on. So what on earth is happening? The whole mystery comes down to one single, completely arbitrary rule. The cutoff date for each age group is January 1st. Now think about that. A kid born on January 2nd is in the same league as a kid born on December 30th. At age 10, that's practically a full year of difference in physical development. The older kids are bigger, faster, more coordinated, and who gets picked for the special travel teams? The bigger kids. Sociologists have a cool name for this, the Matthew effect. It's the idea of a cumulative advantage. The kids who get that tiny, initial, unearned advantage are put on a different path. They get the better coaches, more practice time, more games, and that small edge just snowballs year after year until it becomes a massive difference in skill. They weren't born better players, they just got a head start. So, okay, a lucky break can open the door. But that's just step one, right? That initial advantage means absolutely nothing if you don't get the chance to put in the work. And I mean a lot of work. And that brings us to the magic number, 10,000. Researchers studying world-class experts in all kinds of fields. We're talking violinists, chess grandmasters, even master criminals. They all kept landing on this same number. It takes about 10,000 hours of dedicated practice to achieve true world-class mastery. Practice isn't just something you do once you're good, it's the very thing that makes you good. Just think about the Beatles. We imagine them as these four geniuses who just appeared fully formed. But the real story is, before they were famous, they took these gigs in the seedy clubs of Hamburg, Germany. The conditions were awful, but they had to play for 8 hours a night, 7 days a week. It was an absolute grind, but it was also the most incredible opportunity. They were forced to get their 10,000 hours in long before anyone knew their names. That's what forged them into the Beatles. Or look at Bill Gates. His path to 10,000 hours was just this incredible cascade of pure luck, one thing after another. He got access to a computer terminal in 8th grade in 1968. That was unheard of. Then he found a loophole to get free time. Then he'd sneak out to a university to program in the middle of the night. It was an absolutely unique set of circumstances that gave him a head start nobody else had. He was a programming grandmaster before he was old enough to vote. All right, so you need a lucky break, and you need the opportunity to practice. But what about just being a flat-out genius? Surely a super fight IQ is the ultimate trump card, right? Well, this next part is going to challenge one of the biggest ideas we have about success. The research here is really fascinating. It turns out that intelligence has a threshold. It's kind of like height in basketball. You have to be tall enough to play in the NBA, for sure. But once you're over, say, 6'6", being a few inches taller doesn't automatically make you a better player. Same with IQ. Once you're over a certain point, maybe an IQ of 120 or so, having more points doesn't really predict more success in life. You're just smart enough. Other skills start to matter way more. And to see this in action, you just have to compare these two men. On one hand, Chris Langan, who has an IQ somewhere in the stratosphere. but he grew up poor and never learned how to navigate the systems of the world. He dropped out of college because he couldn't convince a dean to change a class time for him. Then you have Robert Oppenheimer, a genius for sure, but who also, and get this, literally tried to poison his tutor at Cambridge, and he talked his way out of getting expelled. He knew how to make the world bend to his will.
And that skill is the secret sauce. It's what's called practical intelligence. It has nothing to do with your IQ. It's basically social savvy. It's knowing how to read a situation, how to persuade people, how to get what you want. It's not book smarts, it's street smarts. And here's the kicker. You aren't born with it. You learn it.
So where does it come from? Well, a lot of it comes from your family, from how you were raised. Sociologists found that middle-class parents tend to practice what they call concerted cultivation. They fill their kids' schedules, they reason with them, they teach them to ask questions, to speak up to adults, to negotiate. They instill a sense of entitlement, not in a bad way, but in a way that makes their kids feel like they belong in any room and have a right to be heard. That's a skill Chris Langan never had a chance to learn.
And this brings us to the final and maybe the most mind-blowing piece of the whole puzzle. It's the idea that we are all products of powerful cultural legacies. These are the invisible attitudes and habits and tendencies that are passed down through generations, and they can have a massive impact on our lives.
Let's start with another mystery. Back in the late 80s and 90s, Korean Air had a terrifying problem. Their planes were state-of-the-art, their pilots were experienced, but their crash rate was more than 17 times higher than an airline like United. Why were their planes falling out of the sky? Well, the clue, believe it or not, comes from the work of a Dutch psychologist named Geert Holstede. He created something called the Power Distance Index. It's basically a fancy way of measuring how much a culture respects and defers to authority. So a country like the United States has a very low power distance score. We're taught to call our boss by their first name and to speak our minds. But a culture like South Korea is on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Hierarchy and respect for authority are deeply, deeply ingrained. You do not directly challenge your superiors. And this is what that looks like in a life or death situation. This is a real quote from the cockpit recorder of a Korean air flight that crashed. The first officer is terrified. He sees a mountain on the radar. But because of his culture, his high power distance, he can't bring himself to say directly, "Captain, pull up." Instead, he offers a gentle, respectful hint. A hint that's too subtle, a hint that gets missed. So, let's pull all of these different threads together. The tallest oak in the forest doesn't get that way just because it grew from the hardiest acorn. It's the tallest oak because other trees didn't block its sunlight, the soil around it was deep and rich, and a lumberjack never came and chopped it down. What Gladwell shows us is that success is an ecology. It's not one thing. It's the convergence of everything. It's being born in the right month, getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to get your 10,000 hours, having the practical intelligence that your upbringing gave you, and coming from a cultural background that prepares you to seize your moment. When all those things line up, that's when you get an outlier. And that leads to the book's central, powerful, and beautiful idea. Outliers aren't mysterious exceptions. They are the logical products of a particular web of advantages and inheritances. They're beneficiaries of their history, their community, their time, and their place. Success isn't a solo act, it's a gift. And so that leaves us with a really profound question, doesn't it? If we can deconstruct success, if we can understand the recipe, does that mean we can also construct it? If we stop believing in the myth of the self-made person and start building systems that give everyone the right opportunities at the right time, just imagine how much talent we could unleash. Imagine how much richer our world would be.